WHO is Allah? Some of the most important misconceptions that a lot of non-Muslims have about Islam need to do with the word Allah. For various reasons, many of us have come to believe that Muslims worship a special God than Christians and Jews. This is often totally false, since Allah is just the Arabic word for God, and there's just one God. Let there be little question, Muslims worship the God of Noah, Abraham, Moses, David and Jesus, peace be upon all of them. However, it's certainly true that Jews, Christians and Muslims all have different concepts of Almighty God. For instance, Muslims, like Jews, reject the Christian beliefs of the Trinity and therefore the divine incarnation. This, however, doesn't mean that every of those three religions worships a special God, because, as we've already said, there's just one true God. Judaism, Christianity and Islam all claim to be Abrahamic faiths, and every one of them also are classified as monotheistic. However, Islam teaches that other religions have, in a method or another, distorted and nullified a pure and proper belief in Almighty God by neglecting His true teachings and mixing them with man-made ideas. First of all, it's important to notice that Allah is the same word that Arabic-speaking Christians and Jews use for God. If you choose up an Arabic Bible, you'll see the word Allah getting used where God is employed in English. This is often because Allah may be a word within the Arabic like English word God with a capital G. Additionally, the word Allah can't be made plural, a fact which matches hand in hand with the Islamic concept of God. It is interesting to notice that the Aramaic word El, which is the word for God within the language that Jesus spoke, is certainly more similar in sound to the word Allah than English word God. This also holds true for the varied Hebrew words for God, which are El and Elah, and therefore the plural or glorified form Elohim. The rationale for these similarities is that Aramaic, Hebrew and Arabic are all Semitic languages with common origins. It should even be noted that in translating the Bible into English, the Hebrew word El is translated variously as God, God, and angel. This imprecise language allows different translators, supported their preconceived notions, to translate the word to suit their own views. The Arabic word Allah presents no such difficulty or ambiguity, since it's only used for Almighty God alone. Additionally, in English, the sole difference between God, meaning a false God, and God, meaning the one true God, is that the capital G. Thanks to the above-mentioned facts, a more accurate translation of the word Allah into English could be the one and only God or the one true God. More importantly, it should even be noted that the Arabic word Allah contains a deep religious message thanks to its root meaning and origin. This is often because it stems from the Arabic verb ta'alaha or alaha, which suggests to be worshipped. Thus in Arabic, the word Allah means the one who deserves all worship. This, during a nutshell, is the pure monotheistic message of Islam. Suffice it to mention that simply because someone claims to be a monotheistic Jew, Christian or Muslim, that doesn't keep them from falling into corrupt beliefs and idolatrous practices. Many of us, including some Muslims, claim belief in one God, albeit they've fallen into acts of idolatry. Certainly, many Protestants accuse Roman Catholics of idolatrous practices with regard to the saints and therefore the Virgin Mary. Likewise, the Orthodox Church is taken into account idolatrous by many other Christians because in much of their worship they use icons. However, if you ask a Roman Catholic or Orthodox person if God is one, they're going to invariably answer, yes. This claim, however, doesn't stop them from being creature-worshipping idolaters. An equivalent goes for Hindus, who just consider their gods to be manifestations or incarnations of the one supreme God. Before concluding, there are some people out there, who are obviously not on the side of truth, that want to urge people to believe that Allah is simply some Arabian God, one, which Islam is totally other, meaning that it's no common roots with the opposite Abrahamic religions, i.e. Christianity and Judaism. To mention that Muslims worship a special God because they assert Allah is simply as illogical as saying that French worship another God because they use the word Dieu, that Spanish-speaking people worship a special God because they assert Dios, or that the Jews worship a special God because they often call him Yahweh. Certainly, reasoning like this is often quite ridiculous. It should even be mentioned, that claiming that anybody language uses the right word for God is tantamount to denying the universality of God's message to mankind, which was to all or any nations, tribes and other people through various prophets who spoke different languages. We would wish to ask our readers about the motives of those people. The rationale is that the last word truth of Islam stands on land and its unshakable belief within the unity of God is above reproach. Thanks to this, Christians can't criticize its doctrines directly, but instead fabricate things about Islam that aren't true in order that people lose the will to find out more. If Islam were presented within the proper thanks to the planet, it surely might make many of us reconsider and re-evaluate their own beliefs. It's quite likely that once they determine that there's a universal religion within the world that teaches people to worship and love God, while also practicing pure monotheism, would a minimum of feel that they ought to re-examine the idea for his or her own beliefs and doctrines.